Good evening, folks. Welcome back to it. We are here with more Calling All Heroes Rising. The match between Fruit Salad and Greater Than Colon 3. It is Rags and Rain bringing you all the action here tonight. Rain, I mean, these are high stakes for both these teams here, and we should be really in for a fantastic match between these two teams.
Yep, that's right. Because of course, Rex, we are here in the lower bracket now, so that means that unfortunately for one of these teams, this is going to be the end of the road. And well, let's take a look at how we ended up.
Yeah, so just taking a look at the bracket so far, it's been such a full slate of games happening for us so far. A lot of 3-0s, honestly, going through the quarterfinals in the upper division, upper bracket there. But once we get to these closer matches here, like, for example, of course, the 5 match between Sakuramochi and Peach Posse, you're starting to get, sort of separating the wheat and the chaff here, finding these matchups where these teams can really demonstrate how far above they are from their opponents. But here, in the losers quarterfinal, we've got Fruit Salad and Greater Than Colon 3. The loser of this one is out. The winner gets to move on, but still has such an uphill climb ahead of them.
Yeah, and this is a long lower bracket, right? To go through kind of 4 rounds. It's a marathon down here, so we'll see which one of these teams will at least move on to that semi-final, and they will of course be facing off against the winner of Peach Posse and Lotus Rising. As well, we know what our first map is for this series, and we will be heading to Lijiang Tower.
Lijiang Tower. It feels like every single day we get to see Lijiang Tower, but honestly, I love getting the chance to see these teams tread the boards of such a well-worn stage, a map that is as old as Overwatch itself is, getting to see all these different varied compositions, these varied strategies over the 3 courses of this control map here. And with the adjustments, of course, to certain heroes in the most recent patch coming out of Season 18, as well as the addition of Wu Yang, there's still plenty of freshness to be had in these compositions, especially as we've been seeing Wu Yang, our new support hero, just have a great part of so many different compositions.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of filling that main support role as we do see the bans coming out here. The Lucio ban coming out for Greater Than Colon 3 here on Lijiang Tower. And then Fruit Salad gonna take away that Pharah. So interesting because like you just mentioned, Rex, like we definitely have been seeing a lot more Wu Yang, and we are definitely getting to see him kind of in place of where this Lucio would be. So seeing the ban come out makes me think that we might get to see the Waterbender here on Lijiang.
Yeah, this kind of tells me that at the very least, Greater Than Colon 3 do not want to get rid of Wuyong because they probably want to run it themselves. Makes sense. He's in a very good spot right now. Has a lot of flexibility, especially alongside. We see a lot on these more, dive-based compositions. Either a Wuyong Ana, where you have that sort of double backline peel potential, or even a Wuyong Kiriko, which just allows you so much versatility to be able to get out of trouble, leaving your backline pretty undivable, honestly, for the opponent. And of course, having Pharah out of the mix means that you are not running the risk of running into her on Gardens, where she really just has full reign of that skybox.
Yeah, and that's gonna be so dangerous on Gardens as well. We will take a quick little look at our rosters here. So, coming in for the first one, it is going to be Fruit Salad. So, I'll remind everybody, if you haven't been following along with us this season, we have Lyran and Hostile on the DPS here, Fuzzy Dough on that tank, and then the support line rounding things out. We have Mafia and Banana Milk. So, Fruit Salad, of course, this team has been together for the duration of the summer season, but this team has existed prior as well. I'm sure you've probably seen them kind of in those grand finals a couple of times and the semifinals. So a very strong team, and I'm excited that we get to see them.
Meanwhile, on the other side of things, we have got our second team of the match, Greater Than Colon 3. Looking at our roster here, starting is going to be Saccharine and Toxtricity for your DPS line. You're also going to have Hyuka for your tank, and Hollow Can't Aim Vengeful on your support line for the back. So, hovering, of course, some favorite heroes of these choices here. Lucio obviously not going to be in this first map of the series here, but plenty of versatility on this roster here. Having a sort of dedicated flex DPS and a hit scan DPS, really useful for these teams, as we've seen sort of compositions shake out and crystallize over the course of the long months and years of Overwatch 2's existence here, and get to see that flexibility that we're expecting Hyuka to bring to the tank line. Always a massive resource.
Yeah, and you gotta mention there, like, hovering some favorites, and I think the Diva definitely kind of coming back into style a little bit. Of course, with Season 18, like you mentioned, there have been a lot of changes here. So Ramatra, not necessarily on the table as much now, but Diva getting a change to her perks, specifically her micro missiles. It makes those micro missiles very, very dangerous. You can hone them in, you do 75% extra damage, much less of a spread. But if you get that clean dive off, Diva has a lot more kill potential now than she did previously.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Rain, we've seen some changes to these more holding steady, these block tanks, for example. Of course, Hazard and Ramatra are the two greatest recipients of those slight nerfs, where you can't just sort of perma-block the entire time. There is a bit of a cooldown anytime you lower the arms for Ramatra, and of course, the resource of the Spike Guard for Hazard requires now you do damage with Bone Spur in order to actually get that refilled there. So, but again, both those tanks, despite their slightly weakened states, still see a good amount of play here, but I'm fully expecting to see, you know, especially this Orisa out from Fuzzy Doe would not at all be a surprise, as comfortable she's been the entire season all the way through here, repping this hero. And of course, Hugo here on this Zarya is going to have a great time into that opposing Orisa.
Yeah, and these are two heroes that we're definitely getting to see a whole lot more of now. They're in Season 18, there's a little bit more diversity that we get to see in the tank lineup, so it'll be interesting to see the matchup here. We are going to have TP out. Looks like Christmas is going to move over onto that bench, but yep, Cybele, I mean, they're coming out all the way on here. Juno backline, actually, for Brandon Cole. So looking to really use this mobility for their advantage.
Yeah, not a combination of awesome. Young, but still incredibly versatile, of course, as we're talking about. So far here, but Mafia and Fuzzy Doe are already teaming up for the earliest kills in this fight, and so trying to take the high ground. Unfortunately, Greater Than Colon 3 just didn't have a chance once Fruit Salad got moving there. Fuzzy Doe pivoted towards the objective, and you really cannot unseat the battle cattle once Orisa gets moving, and now they're fully in control of this choke point.
Yes, and now being in control of this choke point, really great, because of course you do have Hostile on this Mei and Lyran on the Cassidy as well. They're going to be able to do a whole lot of damage kind of as Greater Than Colon 3 is pushing in, and you're going to be able to force out these Zarya bubbles from Hyuga. So you really need to use the speed ring to your advantage if you're Greater Than Colon 3.
Yeah, Sybil just poking from the sides, trying to get some water explosions in, but Saccharine is able to get the better of Lyran. So again, not having that Cassidy pressure, and Lyran was doing such a good job building up towards that Deadeye early on here, but unfortunately, the DPS from Greater Than Colon 3 just rolling over the entirety of Fruit Salad here. Just a good amount of aggression coming out from Greater Than. That's such a long name to run through the entire time. We're going to do it the entire way through, folks. Do not worry about it. Yeah, those beautiful maneuvering by them without having to spend, of course, an ultimate that they do not have. Fruit Salad, the first one's going to have that one on the docket ready to go.
Yeah, the Terra Surge from Fuzzy Doe could be really big, especially you've taken Cybele out now, so you really just have to look for these bubbles from Hyuga, and then you're going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, not having to worry about that Orisa with the Terra Surge. You've got Toxtricity getting out of trouble, but unfortunately, the rest of Greater Than Colon 3 are not quite so lucky, as again, that Orisa just able to run down those squishier targets so effectively. And of course, with your DPS teaming up, and the immense amount of DPS that can be put in by the backline, it has to be said, both the Kiriko and the Juno have plenty damage potential of their own.
Yeah, exactly. And now here we are back at the choke point for Fruit Salad. You're going to have this Blizzard from Hostile very, very shortly. Fruit Salad's really just looking to let Colon 3 come in. And here we go. The Blizzard's still online. Doesn't look to pull it just yet. Those bubbles need to be forced out first.
Saccharine finding those early picks in multiple fights in a row here, really proving to be the pick potential that Greater Than really needs in order to crack these ones wide open here. Ults being laid over the objective, that rush, trying to paint the path of Fruit Salad to both advance and retreat at the exact same time, but Saccharine is there with the Deadeye, cleaning up Fuzzy Doe, having to chew through that massive amount of health the Orisa has on offer there. Still having to wrest control of the objective back from Fruit Salad, though, as they are still ticking up towards about 75% here, but it looks like Colon 3 will finally get themselves in control once again.
Yeah, and really nice job from them. You really need to move faster kind of in these engagements. You don't want to let the fight go on too long, because Fuzzy Doe is going to be able to kind of cycle through these cooldowns and survive a lot longer than the Zarya can. So it's nice to see Greater Than Colon 3 really just going first in these fights. Now you have both those support ultimates to work with, and yeah, you go ahead, open with that orbit.
Yeah, that raid coming out from Mafia, but unfortunately, Lyran's not alive to benefit from it. On the flank with Toxtricity, waiting with open arms, sending that Cassidy right down to the grave. Of course, nothing to worry about for a few seconds longer. Toxtricity lets loose with the Tectonic Shock as well. Saccharine there to clean up all that massive damage coming through from the Venture, being finished off by that Cassidy. An excellent team these two DPS players have been rolling with so far on this first round of Lijiang Tower here. Fuzzy Doe trying to stay alive and rotate around the high ground, but unfortunately, too many members members from Colon 3 still alive here on the objective. Clean up the tank, and they have just took themselves into the lead.
Oh, Saccharine really popping off on this Cassidy, built up to that Deadeye. Now Cybele has this Tidal Blast ready to go as well. Now we can see that either be kind of aggressively or even defensively, kind of in response to perhaps this Terra Surge that's coming in from Fuzzydo. Again, Fuzzydo's going to look to kind of force out these Zarya bubbles, and then you're going to go in with this Terra Surge.
Toxtricity falling down early. That is devastating for greater than Colon 3 here. Fruit Salad, all they need are these two ults here, the Deadeye and the Terra Surge. Just a massive combination, locking everyone in place for just a few seconds longer than they want to be, cleaning up with Lyran on that Cassidy. Yeah, getting that main damage dealer of Toxtricity out early in that fight was crucial for Fruit Salad.
Now Fruit Salad looking to build up to this Kitsune Rush that Banana Milk is approaching, because that is going to be the only ultimate that you're going to have to work with, not only for this fight, but for the entire fight, as we are going to be heading into overtime. Somebody then greater than Colon 3 needs to get a foot on the point.
Yeah, it is the Deadeye out from Saccharine trying to open this one and send Fruit Salad scattering to the wins, but Fuzzydo is there to get that kill onto Toxtricity early on as the fight really kicks off, so no chance to have that pressure from the Venture around in the enemy backline here, and Lyran is able to make absolute waves with that one. No pun intended, of course, with the Wuyong on the field at this point, but the objective finally secured from Fruit Salad there. They're able to hold their own with only one ult in that final fight. Getting that early pick really proved to be the linchpin of these compositions.
Yeah, you get yourself set up kind of in that white room. You have the Cassidy and you have the Kitsune Rush. So it's Banana Milk with the Kitsune Rush out onto the point. And then Lyran's able to just play very, very safe in that kind of white room. Greater than Colon 3, of course, have to have a foot on the point. So it's very, very hard to kind of dislodge this Cassidy from the angle. As very close one there. Fruit Salad swapping over on to the Genji here for a hostile as we move over on to Market. So potentially looking for just a little bit more mobility here. There's going to be some more high ground to kind of control. Greater than Colon 3 are going to move Kivakal over onto the Ana now. So this anti-nade could be very, very impactful. Of course, Banana Milk does have the Suzu to try and negate this, but wow, Fruit Salad with the TP actually going to get themselves set up on the point already here.
I don't think greater than Colon 3 were expecting that much speed coming out from this Orisa composition onto the objective here, especially with Lyran sticking on that symmetric pick. So crucial when this composition is rolling to stick with that point, unlock it first to your benefit, and then just have that playground potential to work with there with those turrets. But unfortunately, despite losing Saccharine early on, the rest of greater than Colon 3 are still alive and kicking Toxtricity, able to get the better of Hostile early on in this one here. As the fight drags on and on, there's still 3 members from each side left alive around the objective. Oh, make that just 2. For greater than Colon 3, as Quivical unfortunately eats a bit of a javelin there. Fuzzydo still able to keep the rest of the team protected with that Orisa shield. Of course, Shades of Overwatch 1 still present here. Fruit Salad locked down the objective.
Yeah, and now, I mean, you're really going to have this on lockdown. You have the Symmetra, you have a shield, Orisa. Like, this is going to be hard for greater than Colon 3, but finding the opening pick onto Hostile, definitely a good way to start things out.
Yeah, really trying to build up towards that early blade, of course, but not getting a chance to do so for just a few seconds longer here. Peeking in from the high ground is Toxtricity. Venture may be able to burrow, but they can also get up to some very high locations as well. Saccharine there is able to get the better of Lyran, but unfortunately Fuzzydo is still running riot here over the opposing tank. Hyuka just unfortunately not able to do much once those bubbles get burst down in the face of this Orisa hiding behind that shield. Really so defensible here on the objective.
Oh, yeah, gonna do some late damage, and Fuzzydo finding that late kill onto Toxtricity. Now, the nice thing about having this shield is that you're gonna have the shield to kind of take care of the front line, and then anybody from greater than Colon 3 that wants to wrap around the sides, well, then you're gonna have to deal with the Javelin, potentially looking at an environmental kill, because Fuzzydo has absolutely been nailing these spear shots. Greater than Colon 3, though, you're working with some ultimates here. You're trying to build up to this Tidal Blast from Cybele, because that's gonna be an excellent way to open things up on this fight.
These double protective support ultimates, whereas the Tidal Blast can be used in such an offensive potential as well, getting a knockdown onto opponents. These javelins have been devastating from Fuzzydo, just cleaning up that Deadeye before it can get any real value there. Unfortunately, Toxtricity is still around and deadly with it as Hostile falls early. Yet again, still not able to build up to that blade. This is a couple fights in a row now, just not able to get a bunch of value that they're hoping to. And the rest of greater than Colon 3 are behind their DPS line, rolling forward onto the objective, finally dislodging the Orisa of Fuzzydo. But with this victory, which of course came at the last possible second here, Fruit Salad are still coming to this next one with a full slate of ultimates almost.
Oh, yeah, right. And Lyran sticking on the Symmetra, you're going to be able to TP into that window. Now, there isn't any speed for the team for greater than colon 3. And look at how far everybody is pushed out of the spawn. So it's going to be really, really hard to kind of rotate back and try and get this objective contested. Is it's going to be Fuzzy Doe just pushing out here. Maybe they're not looking to take the TP, but they definitely have it in the back pocket.
Hostile needs to play careful, needs to be able to build up to this blade without falling down yet again here, but as Lyran and Fuzzy Doe use their ultimates here, a couple shields to hide behind. Yeah, we've all seen that one image of all the light show happening on the objective on this very map, would you believe it? But only one shield, one tank here so far. The rest of Fruit Salad able to clean up greater than colon 3, no problem here. Just so many ults to work with. Hostile finally has that blade ready to go. Only 2 necessary so far from Fruit Salad, and greater than colon 3 just get pushed off the point too effectively here. And Fruit Salad, I mean, they had it played pretty close in the first round on Control Center, but here on Night Market, not a terribly close engagement between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, Fuzzy Doe just absolutely incredible on this Orisa. I mean, she's been playing this tank for a very long time, including when Orisa wasn't necessarily kind of the top pick. And now that Orisa back into the meta, of course, has this perk now where if you use Fortify, you don't have any movement reduction and you don't build up any heat on your gun either. So Orisa definitely back in as a top kind of tank pick. And well, you already have the experience playing her. Yeah, Fuzzy Doe just looking absolutely incredible. And really setting Fruit Salad up for success there on Lijiang.
Yeah, you called it out, Arain. I don't think I saw her miss a single javelin. I'm pretty sure everyone that we were witness to was a effective land on opponents, sometimes sending them off the map, sometimes canceling out an ultimate. Just incredible value from a tank player who clearly knows this tank inside and out. The rest, of course, of Fruit Salad also doing incredible work. And it has to be said that there were plenty of moments of brilliance for greater than colon 3 in this first map here, especially on Control Center. It was looking very close, went down to the wire of 99 to 100 there. Those early picks in the fight were really where they looked at their most effective. Having Toxtricity able to just find those early picks onto the opposing DPS line is one thing that Fruit Salad need to make sure they shore up coming into these later maps.
Yeah, you mentioned it on Control Center. Kind of this 1-2 combo of Saccharine and Toxtricity was really, really putting in a lot of work there. We were seeing kind of the bulk of the damage come out from Toxtricity on that Venture. And then you have Saccharine on that Cassidy kind of like cleaning things up, always finding kind of a really nice angle as well. And I think that when we moved into Market where, you know, there's not really a whole lot of options for angles, right? Because behind the point, it's just all open space. You're going to fall into a chasm from a spear. But yeah, unfortunately, not really able to kind of find that 1-2 punch combo with the DPS once it's kind of forced into more of like a brawl mirror.
Yeah, we got to see Fruit Salad iterate on what they ran between Control Center and Night Market. Of course, that Symmetra comp is a staple of Night Market in particular, but we didn't see greater than colon 3 try and mirror that, or at least find something that would counter that in any way. Apart from, of course, you know, really shutting the door on Hostile throughout the majority of that round. Fruit Salad were still kind of unimpeded throughout the entire rest of their aggression on that objective. And again, once they were able to get in there first and really set up shop, bunker down, there was very little they could do for greater than colon 3 to get into the point. Even though they flipped, they only got about 30 to 40% in their own category by the time it was all said and done. So really trying to find an early foray and trying to match the speed that Fruit Salad are so eager and so able to bring to the table, I think is important.
Yeah, it's so hard to dislodge that Orisa composition once it's set up on the point. Typically, you'd want to have kind of like a tracer or a flanker kind of go around, take a little bit of attention off that front line. But it was really hard for Toxtricity on the Venture to kind of play that role. And those spears definitely had a really big impact on it, right? It's just a second of speed that's going to stop the Venture from either burrowing or just going to knock them off the edge altogether. So really nicely played by Fruit Salad. But like you said, at greater than colon 3 had some really shining moments, and now they are going to have the option to pick the map as well. So they're going to be able to take themselves to whatever map mode that they so as long as it's in the map pool. And I think that you can really kind of target this play style that Fruit Salad has been going with just in the map selection.
Absolutely. I mean, control plays, again, different than every other map type in the game here. So we can't necessarily set the exact stock of how the series is going to play out by how Lijiang Tower plays. Of course, looking at your escort maps, your hybrid maps, they're going to run a bit of a different tempo here, where speed is certainly an option during all these things. There's still plenty of other avenues you can take to approach these maps here. And speaking of, we are onto Esperanza, sort of your most, high ground based push map so far that we've seen in the game, really allowing a lot of versatility for these compositions here. If you want to run brawl, you can, but if you want to play a fast dive, which, as we've seen with that Wuyong based backline, I think it's pretty safe to say Greater Than Colon 3 would love to continue with that playstyle.
Yeah, and yeah, the Wuyang just has so much mobility, having kind of like this push map where there's lots of like opportunities to kind of kite back. Of course, the playstyle in these push maps and Esperanza is very much get your fights in fast, don't get staggered out. And Wuyong definitely plays really well into that. You're going to be able to do a lot of kind of initial damage, and you can get out of the fight so darn quickly that you can kind of regroup with your team. And that's allows you to play kind of this fast composition. Now, I think Lucio being back in the mix here could change things up for Fruit Salad. I suspect that they probably would prefer to kind of run that Lucio with the Orisa rather than perhaps the Juno that they opted for. But of course, there's no guarantee that the Orisa is even going to be on the table, because Greater Than Colon 3 will have the first hero ban too.
Yeah, and certainly getting that Orisa out of the hands of Fuzzy Doe is probably a good call, at least at some point in this match here. Of course, knowing that if you ban Orisa in this one, that means you're not going to get a chance to ban that particular hero coming down the line. So something just to be aware of, but of course, going down 0-2 feels a lot worse than going 1-1. So getting the chance to sort of set your mental up for the rest of the series here. Again, it's a first to 3, so there's still a couple maps to go, even if this ends up being a stump, which I certainly am hoping that Greater Than Colon 3 have some answers to what Fruit Salad is playing with here. And certainly from the closest we got to see on Control Center, I think they have it in them. It just needs to find the right scenario and the right map, the right composition for them to really be able to play their own game instead of having to sort of counter what Fruit Salad are running with.
Yeah, it really did feel like it was kind of a response that was coming out from Greater Than Colon 3. And I mean, Lijiang Tower was Fruit Salad's map pick. Now, of course, most teams do tend to like Lijiang Tower, so we might have ended up there regardless. But now with Greater Than Colon 3 taking us over to Esperanza and getting that first ban, they can either go for kind of, like we just mentioned, maybe you go for a target ban onto the tank, or if you're feeling like you still maybe want to play your composition, maybe you anticipate that perhaps this Wuyong is going to get banned out, and you can go for kind of a protect ban onto one of the supports. But regardless, you do have some options to work with here if you're Greater Than Colon 3. And like you said, I don't think that them taking the brawl against Fruit Salad was like unwinnable. Definitely can be done. I do hope that they get to kind of play a little bit more towards their comfort. Maybe we get to see the Diva make an appearance here. There is a little bit of high ground that can be controlled on Esperanza. And like I said earlier, Diva does feel like she's in a pretty good spot right now.
Without doubt, and I think that Greater Than Colon 3 have plenty of these compositions that they look comfortable on, that they look practiced on. And so finding the way to have that Wuyong-based backline slot into those comps has really been at the forefront of the way that some of these teams who find a lot of success with that particular new hero really want to capitalize onto. So yeah, I would also not be surprised, as we've been talking about, to see Fruit Salad ban out the Wuyong if it comes down to that. If the support ban, like you're saying, Rain, is not protected, then yeah, that is something they have to be aware of. If not in this map, further down the line here, because it clearly felt like even with Wuyong available, Fruit Salad, at least for the first map, which could always go a different direction, they didn't really feel like that was going to be their hero of choice here. But it looks as though we have the chance to show you exactly which heroes will be banned out coming into the second map here. And all right, we were wrong on both counts, Rain. I love that. Fantastic. We have an excellent ban from Fruit Salad of the Zarya, so that is going to be out of Greater Than Colon 3's hands, and Freya, who sees such immense play on this particular map, and many with these crazy sightlines and high ground, also out of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. I do like this Freya ban a lot. Although we didn't see Freya on the Lijiang Tower, like you just said, like there's some really long sight lines on these push maps. Esperanza as well, having that a little bit of high ground is going to really allow Freya to kind of navigate the map very, very easily and put out damage all the while. And then yeah, Fruit Salad banning out this Zarya, kind of like hitting hard against Hyuka, who's been running that Zarya, at least the two sub maps that we got to and was getting quite a bit of energy as well. So, you know, you're able to build up that charge. The Zarya can be very deadly. So we will have to see a different look from the side of greater than colon 3. And, well, I don't know. I'm hoping that we are going to get to see the diva. I think if you aren't as comfortable running kind of like brawl for brawl, if you don't want to match Fuzzy Doe on this Orisa, which, hey, I wouldn't want to do it, you can definitely kind of swap to something else. Try to just avoid this Orisa altogether.
Yeah, and of course, not having to worry about that Zarya does really allow you to sort of run riot with that Orisa. Really one of the primary tanks that can give Orisa some trouble, especially. But of course, seeing Fruit Salad in the first map didn't seem to be the case here. And looking at what we have so far rolling out, it's still not a guarantee of exactly what these comps are going to be, but a hazard pick from Fuzzy Doe is just a hover. It is just a fake out to make us call it out. Fantastic. We are seeing exactly what we expect to. Lyran here on this Tracer instead, but otherwise Fruit Salad playing exactly what we hope to see from them. And greater than colon 3 are all in on this dive comp. We've got Saccharine on the Tracer mirror as well. Toxtricity still on this venture, which we'd love to see from them in the first map. And Hyuka here on the Winston. All right, so high ground control, plenty strong in the hands of the Science Monkey here. Civil and Vengeful still, yeah, this Wooyoung Kiriko backline is so effective at mobility, and Saccharine is the first one to fall down, though. Banana Milk proving that just because of support does not mean she cannot get a decent amount of work done here. Like we were talking about in the first map, so much damage coming through from these backlines. They are at all points looking for an opportunity. Toxtricity does take Lyran out, but Sybil falling down as well does mean the greater than colon 3 have to play just a bit more carefully here around this forward position here, and Hyuka facing so much pressure. Javelin going through onto a bit of a corpse, so I'm gonna call that one anyway. It still landed on a body, counts in my book. Hostile just manages to keep alive here at the end of this fight, and Fruit Salad take first control of the bot.
All right, okay, that is going to prompt some swaps here. Lyran actually moves off of that Tracer over onto the Cassidy's to potentially try to deal with Saccharine, who, okay, yeah, they're also going to move off of the Tracer onto the Cassidy, so we have the Cass Mirror coming through. Now, Toxtricity is still on this Venture, so you're still going to have that kind of burst damage. Hyuka is going to move over onto that Diva, so now you're going to be able to eat up a lot of the damage from Hostile and Fuzzy Doe, and you're going to be able to eat up the healing that's coming through from Banana Milk as well, who, by the way, nearly built up to a Kitsune Rush already.
Yeah, that is absolutely terrifying. Certainly those final blows and the immense amount of work those kunais are putting in, definitely contributing to that ult charge here. But one of the best things for greater than colon 3 is that they didn't have to erase all of their ult charge here, still keeping 3 of their heroes comfortable here in this roster. Just a slight change up in Toxtricity, proving how comfortable they are taking out Lyran here. Cassidy not able to get a ton of work done against the massive dive potential of this Venture here. Would love to hold on to this Tectonic Shock, but his ult's coming out. Terra Surge coming through, taking 3 off the board in one fell swoop here. Massive work being done by Fuzzy Doe, aided on all 3 counts, as you see by a Banana Milk there. Beautifully done by a Fruit Salad to clean up that fight when it looked to be going greater than colon 3's way.
Yeah, Fruit Salad just keep on trucking, moving this bot forward. They picked up the forward spawn as well, and now still have the beat online. You're gonna have the blade as well. Now, greater than colon 3, I mean, you don't necessarily have kind of a response to this blade. You might be able to use the Kitsune Rush to kind of deter them, or even maybe pull out the Venture ult.
Yeah, Toxtricity is here with that shock, absolutely lets it loose over the members. Unfortunately, it's mostly just hitting Fuzzy Doe, who that damage still will stick though, if you're able to lock down that tank effectively. But unfortunately, the rest of Fruit Salad is still alive and kicking those squishier targets unbothered by all that targeting of their tank there. And Hyuka goes for the Diva Bomb, unfortunately getting taken down as well by Fuzzy Doe. Fruit Salad have not stopped rolling here, and they still, frighteningly, have 3 ults in the bank.
Right, and they haven't had to use anything. They just had really great responses to what greater than colon 3 are rolling out with. Now, it is the Deadeye available from Saccharine, and Cybele has this Tidal Blast. Now, the Tidal Blast, I mean, you really want to try and use it aggressively here because there's no more responding. The bot is basically at your door.
Yeah, putting it onto the Diva is absolutely crucial, taking Lyran out of that fight. No chance to use that Deadeye here. Fuzzy Doe falling shortly thereafter. This is going to be a fight win here for greater than colon 3, but we are looking at a 129-meter deficit for greater than colon 3. Fruit Salad, I mean, they've really done the lion's share of the work they need to. All they have to do now is hold steady for the rest of the 6.5 minutes of Esperanza.
Oh yeah, could be a real long map here if you're greater than colon 3, trying to walk all the way back. You only have that Deadeye in the bank, and Fruit Salad, I mean, incredible ult economy. All 5 are going to be ready to go.
Yeah, Greater Than Colon 3 had to spend just to stay alive in the map there. Of course, they were fighting essentially at their spawn doors, but Hostile is here with the blade. One ult spent in this fight with 2 members of the enemy team down. That is fantastic ult economy. Rain, you're absolutely right. Fruit Salad is just playing this one absolutely clinical, and Greater Than Colon 3 are just kind of falling down piece by piece here. The bot didn't even make it back to the center point. Fruit Salad are still rolling into the spawn doors, and we have like less than 10 meters left to go.
Oh, okay. Deadeye here, but look at this respawn of me, Fruit Salad. Okay, Fuzzy Doe gets a little looking for the javelin there, not gonna find it.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a little bit of over-aggression from Fruit Salad, not playing quite as protected as you would have liked around all this cover to be had. But of course, they're not too bothered. They didn't have to spend anything to make that fight go the enemy's way. They just have to stall out for a little bit more time here. They got 1 kill, not gonna really amount to much at the end of the day, but Fruit Salad are still sitting pretty here in this fight, just buying time for themselves as we've eaten another minute and a half off the clock.
Greater Than Colon 3 are having a really hard time kind of finding their turn in these fights. It feels like Fruit Salad are kind of initiating with an ult, and then there's just really no response from Greater Than Colon 3. You're not seeing them kind of kite out because you don't necessarily have the speed to try and kite out, and the ult economy just hasn't been there where they can kind of respond with an ult of their own. But now coming into this next fight, Greater Than Colon 3 is built up to a bit of an ult economy. They need to use something first, but already Fruit Salad is ulting.
Yeah, 2 ults coming out. Fuzzy Doe and Banana Milk both teaming up. These ults have worked so well in conjunction in the past, and it is exactly the same this time. Members of Colon 3 just getting sought out at every single turn here. Just a couple people left alive, and they are just having to head for the hills. Hyuka has to spend that ultimate just to get the mech back. That is not at all the way you want this fight to go in the back end. Might even lose the mech at the end of the day, too, as they just keep eating so much damage. Finally gets back to the rest of the team. Hostile, though, cleans up Toxtricity on the back end of that fight. Had one of the most important ultimates that Greater Than could possibly use to clean up this fight here. But that Sound Bear out from Mafia lands onto 3 targets there. As Fuzzy Doe sets to play a bit more carefully, be mindful of her health bar, but with the rest of the enemy team falling down all around here, it looks as though that might be just enough to clinch this map here and now. Yeah, everyone else from Fruit Salad is alive and kicking, pushing the final few steps onto the objective here. Finally, this last point. We don't get to see these map conclusions often, but when they do, it is explosive, and Fruit Salad run entirely over Greater Than Colon 3 on the second map of the series. Honestly, not even looking terribly close here. Despite some defensive efforts, Fruit Salad were not stopped at any point here, with no push progress really at all being gained for their opponents.
Oh yeah, I mean, Fruit Salad just playing first every single time. I think every single fight where an ultimate was used, it was Fruit Salad that was going first. Greater Than Colon 3 constantly on the back foot, and that is exactly how push maps get kind of fully completed. Like you said, Regs, we don't get to see that a whole lot because usually there's a little bit more kind of push and pull going on between the teams, but unfortunately, Greater Than Colon 3 just not kind of finding the timing, I guess, that they were looking for in their ultimates, and that meant that Fruit Salad basically just took every single fight on their terms, and it worked out great.
Yeah, I even love to see the adjustments that Greater Than Colon 3 made to their composition coming into just the second fight of the round. You know, crucially, they didn't wait until they were several fights in with their ult economy kind of in shambles by the time they were swapping. They made the swaps at the right time, but it just wasn't enough to deal with the tempo. They need to find some sort of answer to this speed, to this aggression that Fruit Salad are running with here. Even if they get an opening pick in these fights, you know, occasionally it's going to be Hostile or Lyran going down first. But the rest of the team is just able to orbit around Fuzzy Doe so effectively, and the support line is really untouched throughout the entirety of these engagements. There's really no effective way for Greater Than Colon 3 to take out these supports here. Just such an absolute shield and spear wall of Fuzzy Doe on the front lines.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that if you aren't able to kind of win out that frontline duel, which I mean, where you're running the diva for Greater Than Colon 3, you're not really gonna win out that tank trade. So trying to kind of focus down Fuzzy Doe on that tank, even though sometimes she did get quite low, like you said, because the supports from Fruit Salad weren't really contested. There's just always the healing kind of flowing in. So Fruit Salad doing an excellent job kind of allocating their resources in these mid fights where there's sometimes a little bit of chaos happening, and yeah, just keeping their team alive, building up ultimates, doing such a fantastic job also in their ult economy. Like always, every single fight Fruit Salad had, an ultimate to work with, usually multiple ultimates to work with. And it wasn't until like the very end that we saw them kind of, just dump everything. You got 10 meters to go and just lock it in. So I'm impressed from Fruit Salad. This is a lot of kind of restraint for a team, right? Showing that they understand how to play these compositions and they understand how to play as a team.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what you're saying, Rain, after Lijiang Tower, where really feels like Greater Than Colon 3 are able to orbit best and operate at their highest potential when they're able to find these flank routes, when they're able to sort of around their opponent and find the backline in some form of vulnerability here. They really did not have a chance to do that at all on Esperanza here, whether that's shot calling, whether that's just finding the rotations or just not having the time and just getting bundled together. That is where Fruit Salad can feast upon all of those squishy members of the team there. But we're looking at King's Row for a third and again, potentially final map of the series here. This is Greater Than Colon 3's chance. And this is, I mean, if you want to talk about flank routes, you want to talk about all these different passages on a map, King's Row is perhaps the map to find a crazy flank, to find some routes by which to take your opponents by surprise here. So Greater Than Colon 3, this is their last best chance to make this one work.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I like this map pick for them. And yeah, if you can get Sakaran and Toxtricity kind of set up to have the space to work with and the angles to work with, I mean, mechanically, these players are very, very good. We saw that in Lijiang Tower, and Greater Than Colon 3 gonna have some bans to work with here, and here it is, back against the wall. You're down to ban out that Orisa, force Fuzzy Dough onto something else, but Fruit Salad hitting back with a very strong ban as well, taking that Venture away from Toxtricity.
I love both these bans. These teams have a very clear read of what their opponent's win conditions are. And, talking about flank angles, talking about finding your supports and your squishier targets vulnerable, not having the Venture, which Toxtricity was able to pilot to such great effect. Really, one of the standouts on Greater Than Colon 3's roster, especially just with those first two maps. Yeah, that's going to put quite a wrinkle in the game plan coming through onto King's Row here. There's still plenty of other heroes that really can sort of fill that niche, but nothing that does exactly what Venture does to quite that effect, and nothing that it looks as though, from what we've seen historically from Toxtricity, they really feel as comfortable on. So I'm very curious to see what adaptations come through, but getting that Orisa out of Fuzzy Dough's hands, I mean, that's the floor, right? That is where... Greater Than Colon 3 need to approach this one. You cannot have this Orisa run all the way over you, as has happened for the past two maps. So, again, we talked about saving your bans for when they're needed most. This is certainly when they're needed most. So getting that Orisa off the table, I really hope it is a chance for Greater Than Colon 3 to wake this up. Otherwise, I mean, if Fuzzy Dough is out here on this Reinhardt, I mean, let's go. This is the best and greatest place for it to happen.
Ooh, yeah, you're gonna have Banana Milk move over onto the Baptiste as well. So this is a little throwback composition, the Rhine with the Bap Lucio backline. You're gonna have Hostile on the Mei as well. Now with the Venture banned out, Toxtricity gonna hover over the Mei as well. And I do believe we have seen them play the Mei, so there's no surprise here. Moving over on to the Zarya, which, Greater Than Colon 3 has been really good about kind of making these swaps once they see what they're running into. So I'm interested to see if they're going to stick on this Zarya once they see that Fuzzy Dough is on this Reinhardt, because, of course, with the Mei Sojourn, you have almost zero shield break, so it's going to be really, really hard to kind of split that Reinhardt and then confirm a kill with this position.
Yeah, apart from, of course, the shield to worry about, do love this pairing of DPS. Of course, the Fruit Salad is wrapping it on their side as well. We're just getting walls left and right already here, and that is just absolutely devastating. There's nowhere for Greater Than Colon 3 to run. A wall comes up and a Reinhardt starts swinging. Oh, it really it makes you pine for the days of yore where Reinhardt was truly unstoppable here on King's Row. But here, crucially, Fuzzy Dough is proving that she is just as able on the German tank as well. Dropping almost 100 ultimate charge here, and crucially, Greater Than Colon 3 are still sticking on this composition here. They still feel like they can make it work. All right, now the swaps come through. Toxtricity is going to be on this Pharah instead. Okay, so this is something that, apart from Lyran and Banana Milk, not a whole lot of answers from Fruit Salad here against this Pharah. Love the swap out here from Toxtricity.
Yeah, I do really like this. I think that with Vengeful on this Moira, you're gonna have to be a little bit careful. And yeah, nice headshot from Hostile there. And as soon as Fruit Salad find that kill onto the tank, it's just full steam ahead. go touch the spawn doors. But I do like this swap. I think that Greater Than Colon 3 are going to have a hard time kind of walking through this choke point with no speed. So having Vengeful on this Moira, you're not going to be able to stay in the fights as long as Fruit Salad because Banana Milk's on the Baptiste. You aren't going to be able to kind of like out rotate Fruit Salad because Mafia's on the Lucio. So now Greater Than Colon 3 need to look for the poke damage. So swapping over onto this Cassidy, swapping over onto the Pharah, even going to have Hyuka pull out this Ramatra as well. I think that they're making really good adjustments to their comp based on what they're comfortable playing.
Yeah, and we are 2 minutes into the round so far, so there's still plenty of time for them to make something work here. All you need is one thing to go right to open up the enemy defense here to really unlock this objective here. But this window coming out from Banana Milk, that is going to stymie any plans of aggression out from Greater Than Colon 3, and everyone having to fall all the way back here. The rest of Fruit Salad just run forward, taking over everyone they can find at the same time here. Saccharine is going to be back here on the Widowmaker on offense, and does find Lyran. I mean, that's immediate value. That's everything you need to find out of your Widow. The rest of the team has to play so carefully on the side of the defense here. Fruit Salad are all the way back here around the corner of the Aldersworth. You still have Saccharine trying to take these high jump shots, and yeah, plenty of work being done. This skybox is entirely theirs, as Saccharine and Toxtricity are teaming up to put in so much damage onto Fruit Salad. This is exactly the opening they needed.
Oh, it's beautiful. I absolutely love the Widowmaker swap. Nobody from Fruit Salad expecting it, and now this is exactly what we said we needed to see from Greater Than Colon 3, right? Enable your DPS here, and we see it, and every single final blow in that kill feed is either going to Saccharine or to Toxtricity, so now they're going to be able to get this payload moving forward. Now, Fruit Salad, though, everybody gets this forward spawn. You have this Mei. You're going to be able to hold this choke point, and you have 3 ultimates to work with here. Now, like I said, no speed here from Greater Than Colon 3. You're going to have to commit one of your ultimates just to get through this choke.
Yeah, theoretically, everyone has options to get away from the Shatter, but unfortunately not Hyuka. That is the only stationary ground-bound member of the team, and falls down in quick fashion there, as Fuzzy Dough is just able to lay that Ramatra out to dry. And yeah, have to be so carefully. Banana Milk's just tempting fate there. I mean, very brave, but perhaps a little bit, has a slight death wish there. Saccharine proving themselves more than capable of finding these kills, and yeah, just have to watch out against this window pick here that the Widowmaker is just so constantly able to take. Hyuka is running forward here with those fists ready to go. The beat from Mafia only finds onto Fuzzy Dough and themselves, so that is really not as much value as you'd love to see from that Lucio ultimate here, beating as much of a treat as they possibly can. And that overclock from Lyran is cut short by Vengeful. That Moira is on a bit of a flanking tear of their own. Greater Than Colon 3, it looks like they've cracked this defense wide open here with some unorthodox swaps, but they have proven more than effective.
Yeah, I'm really impressed, right? We're seeing the flexibility come out from Greater Than Colon 3. I love that they're kind of trying things that, you know, maybe are going to catch Fruit Salad off guard. And I do think that this composition is definitely catching Fruit Salad off guard. And now both support ults to work with here. Probably going to see this Tidal Blast go over onto Hyuka. That neither of the DPS really make a whole lot of sense here. And you're going to have that Coalescence to kind of follow up. But again, Greater Than Colon 3, you need to go first here. You need to try and find an opening for one of these ultimates.
The tempo is finally in their control for the first time all series, and they need to really make it work for them, but that Shatter out from Fuzzy Dough is massive, landing out to multiple targets on the team. Everyone who could be on the ground was, and just like that, the momentum from Fruit Salad turns into their favor as Greater Than Colon 3 find themselves falling down before that resilient might of Fruit Salad's defense here. Some swaps coming through. Saccharine is now instead going to be on the Cass, a bit more consistent pick, trying to sort of maintain momentum here. But the rest of the composition staying where it is. I like this for now, as long as we stay in the Streets phase.
Yeah, I agree. Especially this Coalescence, it's really big that Vengeful held on to that. But Hostile's building up to this Blizzard, and Banana Milk's going to have the window as well, and the window is going to be so impactful here on this Streets phase. Of course, it's a very, very long corridor, and Fuzzy Dough, once that window is up, Fuzzy Dough, she's going to be able to push so far forward because it's just going to be endless amounts of heals pumped into this Reinhardt.
Hostile ready to let loose with this Blizzard, gets the wall up, and that is the go button to let loose with the ultimate, but decides to hold on to it for a bit of a snowy day. The rest of Better Than Colon 3 really find themselves in a difficult position here as that window comes through in the Blizzard. That is exactly the combination you want to see if you're Fruit Salad, and the one that you dread on the side of Greater Than Colon 3. That Coalescence doesn't do a great deal, unfortunately, for Vengeful there, as the rest of the team are still trying to get away with their lives here, and Fruit Salad are looking hungry. They are finding themselves themselves in such a comfortable spot in this defense. Once they have unlocked themselves, once they found that sticking place, they have really proved unseatable here.
Ooh, okay, both support actually out of the fight for Fruit Salad right now, so this is an opportunity for Greater Than Cold 3 to push forward. Gotta be quick though, because Mafia is gonna be back into this very, very shortly, and they have that beat to work with. This blizzard, or this barrage from Toxtricity, it's gotta be big.
No one was on the objective from Fruit Salad. They unfortunately did not get toes where they needed to be. Fuzzy Dough a bit too preoccupied with that barrage coming down right on top of her, and with that, the point has been taken for Greater Than 3, and we are starting to tick through the final phase of King's Row on their offense.
Okay, yeah, not a whole lot of time here for Greater Than 3 to work with, but Cybele has built up to this Tidal Blast near late. Banana Milk gonna swap over onto the Ana here, so looking for some aggressive anti-nades, because of course, once that shield goes down for Hyuka, it's basically just a free anti, because no cleanse on the side of Greater Than 3 to negate that.
Yeah, they play so carefully here. Greater Than 3 falling so low. That burst healing, like you mentioned, not really present here with that Moira Wuyang backline, and Saccharine falls down first. Lyran able to get the better of their opposite. Fruit Salad are looking so comfy here on this defense, and there's really only one fight left for Greater Than 3 to make this offense work. Granted, they've gotten much deeper into the map than we might have expected with those early holds on point A, but still, this is the make or break moment. If they want to set themselves a chance at a third round, assuming Fruit Salad finishes the map themselves, now is the time and chance to do it.
All right, and Hyuka is going to move over onto the Diva to try and make it happen. Only the Coalescence here. It's a 5-person shatter.
Absolutely devastating out from Fuzzy Dough. She's been able to find these shatters at the absolute most unlikely of angles here, and that's just got to be it. Everyone else from Greater Than 3 laid out upon the floor, and just with the blizzard to celebrate, anyone left alive getting caught and shielded up in the process. A valiant effort and a solid offensive push coming through from Greater Than 3, atop a few mistakes from Fruit Salad's defense, has to be said, at those very last moments of point B, but it does end before the end. There is a win con here for Fruit Salad, and still plenty of distance for them to cover to get there.
Ooh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Greater Than 3 did a good job kind of punishing some over-aggression from Fruit Salad, especially on that streets phase. Fruit Salad's looking to, get a little bit of a stagger kill, pushing a little bit too far, and then both supports kind of fall, and that opens things up for Greater Than 3 to work through and get a pretty easy fight considering a C9 onto that second point. But yeah, this is a very clear win condition for Fruit Salad. I mean, Fuzzy Dough has looked absolutely incredible on this. Reinhardt, of course, getting the shatter in overtime. I mean, there's nothing that Greater Than 3 can really do. You have to try and take a fight on point. You're up against an Earth Shatter. As soon as that shield is kind of down for the Ramantra, that's it. It's pretty much a free shatter, and we'll see Toxtricity gonna stick on this Mei. Saccharine over on the Ashe for the defense. I really, really like Ashe, especially on first point here of King's Row. You're gonna be able to control that high ground with the coach gun. You're gonna be able to get some really big dynamites as everybody's kind of funneling through the one choke point. But we are looking at potentially a Lucio Juno backline for Fruit Salad, and that means that they are looking to move very, very quickly, which means that Saccharine on this Ashe and Cybele on the Wuyang aren't going to have as much time to kind of put this poke damage into Fruit Salad as, okay, we are going to move over onto the Baptiste, so it's just same composition here for Fruit Salad as they try to make it work on the offense.
Play that same comp again. They have to worry about Saccharine here on this high ground, though. The Ashe is perfectly positioned here to get so much chip damage coming through from both the Dynamite and potential headshots coming out of that Viper, especially with that fantastic lead rose skin. Love that so much. Love to see it. But yeah, so having to face this pressure from Mafia, though, who is just diving directly onto the backline high ground of Greater Than 3 here. And Toxtricity, with all the pressure, all the confusion coming through on the front line, is the first to fall here. And Fuzzy Dough just rolling all the way forward. Finally gets that pin onto Hyuka. I mean, that's got to be huge. That is morale breaking for Greater Than 3 and morale building for Fruit Salad here as their offense, a bit of a faster approach than Greater Than 3's.
Yeah, it's just a late kill on a Saccharine as well. That means that Greater Than 3 probably not going to have all 5 players for this early contest, which isn't really going to matter because Fuzzy Dough's already pushed up so far. Okay, nice kill here from Toxtricity. That is going to allow 3 to take a little bit of space here, but I mean, you're still dealing with this Reinhardt plus Lucio speed combo is just going to outpace you on every single fight that you take.
Ooh, Fuzzy Doe is very lucky she did not get caught behind that Mei wall. Perfect timing just to be able to jump over that ice as it appeared. Unfortunately, Banana Milk not so lucky as she gets taken out early on in here. Does have that ultimate ready to go whenever it becomes necessary. And finally, as you're saying, right, this choke point is perfect place for Greater Than Colon 3 to hold this exactly where they want to find themselves here on the defense. So despite being down a Baptiste, well, right back in the fight as it is. A pretty quick respawn, a quick jump back into the engagement here. Hyuga just taking so much damage, not able to get healed up in time with this backline, just doing their very best to keep their tank alive, and finally is able to do so. So what I thought was going to be the end is able to stay alive here. Is that Tidal Blast doing massive work, keeping the tank up for a few moments longer, but unfortunately, with everything else that Fruit Salad has to throw at you, there's just not much to be done standing against it here, and they're still holding on to this window for the next fight, but spending 2 ults, you call that a pretty good bargain.
Yeah, and especially because you have this Blizzard from Hostile coming online. I mean, last time we saw the window comboed with the Blizzard, and it was just absolutely devastating to Greater Than Colon 3, and you just don't have a whole lot to answer for that, right? You don't have the speed to kite out of the Blizzard or even the window. So if you're coming into this next fight of Greater Than Colon 3, you need to try and play split. But hey, we're on King's Row. There's just not a whole lot of ways to kind of play on that angle. Now you have the Annihilation ready to go into this Coalescence as well. So you might be able to sustain through this fight with that.
Fruit Salad really forcing the issue. You are not allowed to go anywhere without Fuzzy Toes say so here. Hostile helping to cinch everyone up with those Mei walls, and there's really no chance for Hyuga to be able to lay on the hurt that this Ramacha really wants to be able to do so. You should be good against these barriers. You should be able to punch through what a Reinhardt has in store, but unfortunately, not at the tempo that Fuzzy Doe is playing here. And we're pushing into the final stage of the map with almost 5 minutes to go.
Oh my gosh, and Fuzzy Doe has a shatter once again. I mean, Fruit Salad can basically just force the point and then go for the shatter. Now, it's the Coalescence still from Vengeful. You need to not get caught in this shatter if you're the Moira. You absolutely need to use this ultimate to keep your team alive.
Hyuga on this Diva, though, means there's nothing at all to protect them from this shatter. The Mei wall at best, but that is going to be faint praise even if it connects here. And it turns out that the first thing they have to worry about is getting locked in place on the objective, and there is just no more tricks left to be played for Greater Than Colon 3 as Fruit Salad, all of this make it look easy here on their offense, almost better than on their defense. Beautiful stuff, incredible tempo being played from Fruit Salad. Incredible plays coming through, and Greater Than Colon 3 unfortunately falling down before the might and speed of Fruit Salad here, who go up, take the series 3-0, and find themselves staying alive in the lower bracket.
Oh my goodness, yeah, really, really impressive stuff from Fruit Salad. We can see why this team has made it to, you know, grand finals, semifinals so many times. Just a really fantastic understanding of, like you mentioned, the tempo, right? We're seeing kind of the response coming out from Fruit Salad. Yes, there were a couple of times where they pushed a little bit too far, got a little greedy, and got punished for it. But by and large, this team was very, very practiced, very, you know, good at going first in these fights. And I think that, unfortunately for Greater Than Colon 3, just weren't able to kind of keep up with the decision-making that Fruit Salad was coming through.
Yeah, Greater Than Colon 3, it made some excellent adjustments in all 3 maps. Honestly, seeing their compositional changes to try and counter what Fruit Salad was looking most comfortable in should have worked. In theory, on paper, they should have been effective, but, you know, just a level of cohesion that just wasn't present, or just that fact that Fruit Salad was on a higher level with it, in terms of being able to rally around that standard that it felt like Fuzzy Doe was able to put down at all points. And considering the rest of the support line was just so uncontested throughout the entirety of the series. We mentioned it a few times, that there was just no real successful efforts from Greater Than Colon 3 to put pressure on their backline, just allowing an incredible amount of heal pressure coming through, and just allowing the tank to surge all the way forward. And their DPS line, I mean, if they got the kills, that was great. But once you had that core of the support and tank all, you know, cordoned off and looking comfortable, there was really very little to dislodge them.
Ugh. Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, of course, this means that Fruit Salad gonna move on to that losers semifinals, and they will find out who their opponent is going to be kind of a little bit later on tonight. That match of Peach Posse versus Lotus Rising still going on. I think that if no matter who you know, comes out from that Peach Posse versus Lotus Rising, you're gonna be in for a very, very tough match against Fruit Salad because this team absolutely on fire. And I mean, Lotus Rising, if you come up against Peach Posse and you come out with the win here, you're gonna be looking at a rematch against Fruit Salad.
Yeah, that is certainly not a position I would want to find myself in, just as good as they're looking. Honestly, it feels like Fruit Salad has just been getting better and better
Mm.
as they've been going here. Yeah, certainly the ones sending Lotus Rising to the lower bracket here, losing Dreamlight Academy, of course, coming down. Yeah, I do not want to find myself, if I'm Lotus Rising, against the very team that sent me down here to begin with. Even Peach Posse, I mean, you still have to play so carefully against this. If we do the math, if we do the algebra, they lost to greater than :3 in that first round of the quarterfinal. So if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that doesn't look good at the end of the day, facing the team that 3-0'd them when they 3-0'd you. So yeah, either of these teams are going to be in for an uphill battle against Fruit Salad here, who themselves, I hope, feel very confident coming in to the semifinal round here. They looked phenomenal all the way through. They look well practiced. They look like they're having a good time, honestly. There was plenty of fun moments to be had. And I mean, seeing Reinhardt Lucio on King's Row, again, not to be old on main, but it just is such a storied tradition in Overwatch history. And they played it to perfection. So really well done on the side of Fruit Salad here. Greater than :3, a valiant effort to be made there. Plenty of bright spots. We look forward to seeing them in future seasons. I think they've got plenty that they can work from here. And I would love to see this roster just build stronger and stronger as time goes on.
Yeah, me too. It's been so fun to watch teams run through the Swiss stage and playoffs. It's so sad to see them leave. But yeah, there is always next season. Super excited to see what that brings. But that is, I believe, everything we have for tonight. That is going to be all of the matches. There is one ongoing, but not going to be covered on stream. So you'll just have to get the updates in the Discord server. This playoffs will continue next week. So we'll have more coverage next week, maybe on Saturday too, I believe. But you'll have to just stay tuned for confirmation of when you get to watch more calling.